class we are going to continue the same, the 14th lesson, the Mughal Empire. Lesson number 14. The Mughal Empire. So in today's class we are just going to deal about how this Mughal Empire came to an end, and after the Mughal Empire, the Hyderabad city was who took over the city, which are the other rulers. So before that, I'll just give a glance what are the we have been dealing from the last previous classes. So the very first we have been getting to know from where this Mughal schemes from Central Asia, this one Turkestan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, all these places. Then we also have been so the background of the Mughal emperors. The very first is the Babur, the next Humayun, Shah Jahan, Jahangir, Akbar. All these are the different kinds of the rulers who has been ruled the Mughal Empire. Next also we have been saw how they maintain the relations with the other rulers, not only with them, with the other kinds of the rulers, how they did get married to the other princes of the other religion, and at the same time how they maintain. And next we have been also saw this Mansabdar means what is Jagirdar, what is meant by Jagir, all these we have been saw. And in the previous class we have saw what is meant by Zab and Zamindar, how they used to collect the revenue, who had been appointed, how they did all that. Now next we also have been saw the Akbar's policy. The very most important, it is known as a universal peace, that is Sulh-e-Kul. It was been written by Abul Fazl. This is very important. Who wrote this Akbar's universal peace means Abul Fazl in his book called Akbarnama, where he suggested about this universal peace. It is been get followed by the Akbar. The next who are the rulers, but Aurangzeb did not follow up. Next is this Zabta system. Who started? Zabta system is revenue system. It is been started by the in Akbar's ministry empire. There is a total money, the revenue minister. He suggested to get start this collecting of the revenue to the people, how much crop they are eating, how much land they are having. According to that division, this revenue system, what is known as this Zabta system, that is being started. And this universal peace is very important on the three important ethics, which is being honesty, justice, and which is being get important. Honesty need to get existed of, the next is justice, then ultimately the peace. So these are the three important. He wanted all the religious people to be get united, live peacefully, happily, giving the justice. So in this way, this universal peace has been started. It is been a Sulh-e-Kul policy. Now on page 132, we'll be just going to have a look on how this 17th century played an important role to the end of the Mughal dynasty. The administrative means the work which they'll be going to carry, like official work we can say. And the military, the administrative and the military efficiency of the Mughal Empire lead to economic and commercial prosperity. International travelers described it as a fabled land of wealth. But same visitors who were applauded at the state of poverty that existed in contrast to the greatest wealth. The inequalities were glaring. Documents from the 20th year of Shah Jahan's reign inform us that the highest ranking Mansabdar were only 445 in number out of total 8,000. This small number of a mere 5.6% of the total number of Mansabdars received 61.5% of the total estimated revenue of the empire as salaries for themselves and their troopers. The Mughal emperors and the Mansabdars spent a great deal of their income on salaries and goods. The scale of revenue collection left very little for the money for investment in the land, so in the hands of the primary producers, the peasants and the artisans. The poorest amongst them had barely enough resource for existence and could hardly invest in tools and supplies to increase productivity. The wealthier peasantry and artisanal groups, the merchant and bankers profited in this period. The enormous wealth and resource commanded by the military nobility made them an extremely powerful group of people in the late 17th century. As the authority of the Mughal emperor slowly declined, his subordinates emerged as powerful centers of power in the regions. They constituted new dynasties and held command provinces like Hyderabad and Awadh, although they continued to recognize the Mughal emperor in Delhi as their master. By the 18th century, the provinces of the empire had consolidated their independent political identities. So, 17th century how it was been for the Mughal Empire, Mughal rulers. So the travelers who will be traveling, the foreign travelers, like we had also saw in the previous lessons, like Niccolo di Conti, then Abdul Razak, then Marco Polo, all these are different kinds of the rulers who have been visited this kingdom and they applauded. So same like in Mughal dynasty also, there were different foreign rulers who has been came and visited, they have been saw, and they have been said that it is a complete, the country is a fabric of wealth. Fabric of wealth means having so much of wealth, jewelry, spices, qualities been existing in the country. But at the same time, they also said that it is a state of poverty. Poverty in where the people cannot able to get the basic things, basic facilities like food, clothes, shelter. This is what at least the person need to be have for his family. So this inequalities, it was being started existing. Why it was being started existing? Because I will say this Jagirdars and the Mansabdars. Mansabdars officially they will be getting the salaries as a form of revenue, and Jagirdars what they did, they started collecting more of Jagiri, means money. The person who collects is known as the Jagirdar, and the money which they will be going to collect as revenue is known as the Jagiri. So farmer, here they did not mention the farmer, they have been mentioning the peasants. PACNT means the farmers. Artisans means those will be doing the trading business, like craft persons, making of the baskets, any kind of dresses, woolen. These are the artisans. So they have been decided like this season, if it is been growing the wheat, this much of jagir need to pay. So likewise, some like totalment how we divide revenue system, how we make. So likewise, these jagirs they need to collect accordingly. But some of the jagirs after the end of the Akbar's tenure of time during the period of Shah Jahan's last 22 or 20 years or 15 years, the last tenure of this Mughal empire, they started collecting more of money from these peasants and artisans. And actually, how much the Mansabdar? They were only the Mansabdar out of 18,000 Mansabdars, they were only 445. How much salary they have been getting? Only 5.6%. But whereas in the records of the maintaining administrative work, it is being said that it should be of 61.5%. So from this estimation, you can just your calculation, you can just imagine how many Mansabdars are there and how many Jagirdars were there. So only it was out of 1800, only 445, not even the complete half, 3/4 we can say now. So 4, 8. So likewise only the 4, nearly 500, not only 500, complete 445 only. This Mansabdars they were existing, only 5.6 salaries they are in percentage salaries they are getting out of 61.5%. So remaining all it is being taken by the Jagirdars. Not only Jagirdars, they were more powerful rulers, powerful merchants. Merchants means the persons who will be doing the trade, means business only in the cloth, like silk cloth or whatever the clothes will get existing, only related to the clothing. So that are the merchants. So who are here becoming more and more powerful? The bankers. Bankers means the money lenders who will be giving the money to these peasants, artisans. Bankers, the very first, the next these Jagirdars, the next it is about the merchants who are becoming very powerful. Now next the Zamindars. In the previous class I have said these Zamindars are hereditary and they are acting as a middle person between the local people of that area and to the king. And with the support of these peasant person artisans, they were becoming powerful. So in this meantime, everyone is getting powerful and powerful by collecting of more revenue, means the money they were collecting. So likewise, slowly the Mughal dynasty, the Mughal rulers, they rule and power, it is been not having the control over this period of time. So hardly, and at the same time they started out their own small businesses like to way to invest in. So when these traders, artisans, all they were becoming more powerful, they were investing means to start up any kind of new venture or a business. So Mughal emperors, they were lacking of money because all the money, whatever they are getting, not only they are not getting to the Mansabdar, all these have been taken away by the Jagirdars. So they were becoming powerful, and in this manner, the more number of elite groups, means the noble person who have been rich, who have been sitting around with the king, who have been very administrative workers, all they were becoming powerful. So slowly the subordinates of the Mughal empires, their power was being declining because Mughal authorities, they not giving any, even though if they give orders or administrative work to follow, but all of that local area people, they were in support of these Jagidars, in support of the merchants, in support of the bankers. So like this, so the subordinate, this Mansabdaras, they were not following the rules and orders. So like that, in the places like Hyderabad, Awadh, Madhya Pradesh, then Bhopal, basically Madhya Pradesh, the Bhopal existed out. Then all these places, who were the subordinates, the elite, who were more powerful, they became independent. Independent means they were not taking any support of the subordinate nor the king. So because they know how to rule that area, because they were completely aware how he's been doing all the things. So Hyderabad and Awadh became independent, and even though they became independent, but still they'll follow their most administrative entities in the Delhi headquarters. They have been saying that although they continue to recognize the Mughal emperor in Delhi as their master. So whichever the places, whichever the provinces. Now presently we call it as a state. These areas as a states. But at a time it has been known as the provinces. So provinces, states like Hyderabad, Awadh, they became independent. It has been get ruled by the kings. But the kings who were ruling, they considered their masters, means who is the head of the place, we will call it as a master. So that the master is in Delhi. So who will be in Delhi? This Mughal emperors, they execute. So in this way, the independent political power, the subordinates, they started ruling. So slowly it came into the declining of the power from 17th century till to the 18th century. The Mughal dynasty has been came to an end. So before that one, here they have been given on the page number 132, one of the story of Sarvai Papanna of our state, how he defeated the rulers of our Hyderabad Asafjais and Qutub Shahi dynasties. The story about this, how he have been attacked the Razakas, who will be collecting the revenue. So here on this page number 132, this is about the story of this this Papanna, how it is being done. I'll just read out, you can understand it out, how he has been fought with all the other people. Sarvai Papanna, who belonged to the Warangal district, fought against the Mughal rule in Telangana. He lived during the period of Aurangzeb. He supported the lives of many poor people who were backward and downtrodden. Backward means very poor, downtrodden means they cannot even afford to have at least one meal per day. So Papanna occupied Telangana area from Mughal rule between 1687 to 1724 and built a fort in Kalishapur, which also considered the capital city of Warangal. So here basically about the Warangal place, he had been fought against the Mughal rule, especially in the Aurangzeb. Having seen the operations and atrocities committed by the Mughals during that time, he raised a small army and trained them in guerrilla attacks. Papanna during his reign of 30 years ruled Bhuvanagiri, Konapallu of Nalgonda, Tapikonda, Chiriyal of Warangal, Huzurabad, Husnabad of Karimnagar. He constructed his first fort in Sarvai Peta with the aim of expanding his rule. He constructed forts in Talikonda, Vemunakonda and Shapuram. Existing check dams constructed during the rule of Papanna in Tatikonda shows that he was a development-oriented king. Papanna mostly raised the funds of war and army by guerrilla attacks on Subedar. Subedar means the army chief, zamindars and landlords. Upon hearing the news of Papanna's popularity, Aurangzeb advised Rustam Dil Khan, his advisory, to suppress Papanna. Rustam Dil Khan then sent Qasim Khan first to Papanna and then to conquer Shahpur fort. Having Qasim Khan defeated and slain by Papanna, Rustam Dil Khan himself entered the war and it went on for almost 3 months. Rustam Dil Khan finally fled from the war and Papanna lost his friend and close associate Sarvana in this war. After the death of Aurangzeb in 1707 AD, then the Deccan Subedar Kambash Khan started losing the control on Deccan. Having seen the weak administration of Kambash Khan, Papanna attacked and conquered Warangal fort on 1st April 1708. Papanna then conquered the Golconda fort during the same period. So it has been like this. Papanna had a war with the Mughal rulers, especially in the Aurangzeb period of time. In that this Subedar, who was a Subedar, he had been sent this Rustam Dil Khan Aurangzeb, but Rustam Dil Khan did not went directly. He sent the Qasim Khan, occupied the war. All these fightings have been. This Papanna has lost his one of the close associate friend in the battle. 3 months it has been continued, And this Rustam Khan, this Hasan Khan already he was been get killed in the battle. Then Rustam Khan fled the battle by seeing his power, all this one. Then after that, in the 1st April 1708, he conquered the Warangal, and lastly he also conquered the this Golconda Fort of Hyderabad. Now we are just going to have a look on this one, Asif Jahis of Hyderabad. So Mughal dynasty came, Asif Jahis timeline here on the page 133, this yellow color. Here they have been given all the names like Nizam 1, 2, the Nizams means who were, these are the rulers who has been ruled the Hyderabad city. So from the year 1724 they started ruling until the year 1948 it has been under the control of the Nizams. Asif Jahis timeline. So Asif Jahis of Hyderabad 1724 to 1948. I'll just read out the timeline. Nizamul Mulk 1724 to 1748. Next Nasir Jang 1748 to 1751. Then Muzaffar Jang 1751 to 1750, means that period of time was only 1 year. Salabat Jang 1751 to 1762. Nizam Ali Khan 1762 to 1803. Then Sikandar Jah 1803 to 1829. Then Nasir-ud-Dawla 1829 to 1857. Afzal-ud-Dawla 1857 to 1869. Mahbub Ali Khan 1869 to 1911. Last Nizam ruler Mir Usman Ali Khan 1911 to 1948. So now I will just give in detail now. After the beginning of the Mughal Empire in 1720s, Mughal governors asserted their independence. One of them was the Subedar. Subedar again the subordinate, the Mughal rulers of the subordinate of the Deccan area. Chin Kulich Khan is also known as the Nizamul Mulk. So actually this Nizamul Mulk, his name is Chin Kulich Khan. He was the founder of the Asif Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad state. Why I am saying here Hyderabad state? Because at that time before independence it was independent state, not a complete city or the district which has been existing today of. So 1727 this Chin Kulich Khan, Nizamul Mulk, he was the founder. He was actually the Subedar of the Deccan area. Deccan Plateau where it has been existing, the south part, and he is the Subedar, means army chief and subordinate to this Mughal dynasty. Nizamul Mulk ruled for nearly 24 years from 1724 to 1748. Among the Asif Jahi rulers, there were 7 kings who ruled from 1724 to 1948. The Nizams constantly fought with the Marathas and the rulers of Mysore to carve the independent state of Hyderabad. Due to these reasons, they became independent on the British and lost their independent status. They undertook the colonial modernization under the influence of the British officials. The British loved the Hyderabad culture. During the late 19th century, Hyderabad embarked on development. Salar Jung was the Prime Minister of the Nizams between 1853 to 1883. 1853 means Nasir-ud-Dawla. From there is a person called Salar Jung. Salar Jung is the Prime Minister. Prime Minister means not the countries. To that kingdom of this Asif Jahis, he is a Prime Advisor. Who was the Prime Advisor? Salar Jung. From the year of 1853 to 1883. Who employed colonial development of the schemes. So now last Nizam means from the last to the second ruler, Mir Mahbub Ali Khan. Period marked with a number of reforms, means what are the activities, what are the constructions they have been done. The Asafia Library, the very first. Second, Victoria Memorial Orphanage, Mahbubia Girls School at Average, you can see this Mahbubia Girls School or the Gun Foundry was established. During the Musi Frost in 1908, he personally supervised the relief operation, offered prayers to the god and provided shelter to the victims. However, the Nizam's 7th determined to protect the feudal power structure despite the popular movement of liberal administrative reform. So in detail we are going to read all this liberal movement, feudalism in the next 8th standard. So before in Asif Jahis Nizamul Mulk, the founder, 1724. For 24 years he has been ruled. Last till 1948 it was been under the control of the Asif Jahis. So what are the construction activities it was been get started? It was been get started from the Mir Mahbub Ali Khan. Before that only Nasir-ud-Dawla's tenure of time, the prime advisor Salar Jung. This Salar Jung, what he did means he has been advising these Nizams what to construct, how to construct. So on this Salar Jung, they have been dedicated. We have had this Salar Jung museum. This museum is specially dedicated to the Nizams of Hyderabad, on dedicated the name to the Salar Jung. then next to Victoria Library, then Memorial Girls High School, then Osmania Medical Hospital. All these they have been constructed. These Nizams have been constructed. So what are the things of the Nizams we can find out? Means we can go to this Salajan Museum. Then next we had Chowmata Palace, Falaknuma Palace. All we can get to know who were the Nizams, how they did rule, or what are their equipments of the weapons, their dressing style, their jewelry, all the things which has been related to the Nizam. So till 1947 we got independence. But after this 1948, till it was been ruled the feudal power. Feudal power means the powers which is been going to deal with the individual. This will be going to deal in the next class. So this lesson has been ended up with this Mughal Empire ended, then the Asafjahis ended. So after 1948, again we did not have any kind of the ruler or the empire. Directly we have the democratic government which has been started, and Hyderabad came into the India country. This completely the end of the lesson. In tomorrow's class, I'll be giving